Hey you all, welcome back to my channel. I realized that I am the chakras queen and I don't have any YouTube videos on my channel about the chakras. And I know there's a lot of YouTube videos all across YouTube about that, but I decided that I want to share one because the way I like to see the chakras, the way I like to talk about the chakras, the energy centers in our bodies, is from a more like bringing it down to earth, like simplify it, make it super simple. So in this video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to explain to you what are the chakras, what are some key insights for chakra alignment, talking about the chakras and really understanding the work and the importance of them and the importance of working with them. In this video, I'm not going to necessarily go into every energy center with their characteristics and the benefits and all of that, because that is going to be, I'm probably going to do it in a different video, but in the description down below, you also have a free chakra guide to grab. So feel free to grab the free chakra guide in the description below. What are chakras? Chakras are the centers of energy within our subtle bodies that originated from ancient Indian spiritual traditions. The word chakra translates to wheel or disc in Sanskrit. It represents the spinning vortexes of energy within our body. There are a lot of energy centers within our body and also in our energy field around our bodies. But what I am going to be talking about and what I'm always specifically talking about is specifically about the 7 main energy centers within our bodies. And those are the ones that I'm going to be talking about on my YouTube channel. Those 7 energy centers are responsible for our spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical well-being, and just in general, those aspects of the human experience. They are the roots of everything. They are the roots of all the symptoms that we have as humans. If we have anxiety, depression, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, lack of safety, emotional eating, physical symptoms, diseases, lack of communication, issues in relationships, issues in intimacy, not able to fully step into our sexuality and our sensuality, unable to forgive past hurts, or judging others, or criticizing ourselves, or lack of self-worth, or lack of confidence, or like disconnected from our intuition, or even trouble sleeping, like physical symptoms within our body, like thyroid problems, headaches, literally every emotional, physical, mental situation that comes up for us. When we look at the roots of everything in this reality, whether if it's in this physical 3D reality, but also in general in the universe, the roots is in the unseen. The roots are in spirit. The roots are in the energy field. And those are the energy centers within our bodies. Whenever we deal with different symptoms in our lives, when we look at the roots, which is the energetics in the energy body, in our chakras, then we're able to work with it. Because I'll give you an example. If let's say I have a deep wound around self-worth that, let's say, comes from a place of shame, like there's like a shame that I'm carrying within my body, that is a generational shame that I'm carrying within my body, in my solar plexus, okay, in the 3rd energy center. Then what happens is that this shame has a specific energy to it. And if I'm going to the energy center, the solar plexus specifically, and I'm able to connect with the energetics, and I'm becoming aware of the energetics and how the energetics of that shame affects everything I do in my life around self-worth. Maybe it manifests in a way that I'm codependent. Maybe it manifests in a way that I am super attached to what I'm doing as a person, And that's where I find my value or my self-worth. If I make a lot of money, that's what gives me the self-worth. Or maybe I'm seeking a lot of followers on Instagram or on social media because that gives me that sense of self-worth. Seeking external validation, whether if it's from on social media, people around me in my life, maybe it's my partner. So there's like a root in the energetics that comes like that creates all of these symptoms. And when I look at the root and then when I'm able to connect with the energetics and work with the energy center of what is causing all these symptoms, then I'm able to, because I talk a lot about it, and like I mentioned, I will make a whole YouTube video about how energy works and like understanding energy. But of course, this video is a part of it because energy is like, it's everything in this reality. And not only in this reality, everything in the universe is energy. Everything is energy. Like from physical things to if we're thinking about relationships, if I had like a relationship with my mom or relationship with a friend or my partner, there is energetics behind it. You know how when you walk into a room and when you feel like certain energy in the space, like the energetics is like the unseen that is impacting everything. And if we're able to go back to the roots and the energetics, we're able to like change the outcome in the physical manifestation of what it is that we're experiencing. And it's like it goes to a lot of areas. If you think about physical sickness or disease, to a relationship you have with someone, to a pattern, to a trauma, to like a behavior that you have, a trigger that you have, like literally everything that you can think of. And when we go into the energetics and we're like seeing the energy and we're able to transmute this energy from X to Z, we're transmuting, because energy cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed or transmuted. It can only shift its shape, basically. And when we're able to go to the root in the energetics and we're shifting the root of that shape, or if we're transmuting into something different, or we're realigning it from, like, let's say it's stuck and it's like this, and we're like helping the energy move and we're like realigning it, then all of a sudden our reality is a little bit different. All of a sudden, you know, if we work on our relationship with money and there's like a lot of energetic knots in our relationship with money, all of a sudden it creates something different. I'll go more deeper into it. I know it's a little bit hard to understand, but I'm gonna come back to the energy centers and explain to you what are the key insights for the alignment. And I'm always in my videos, I'm always gonna go back to the energetics behind everything. So if you watch my videos over and over again, at some point you will have like a sense of what I'm saying, because what I'm doing is I'm planting seeds in my videos. I'm planting seeds for you to really understand the energetics and how to work with the energetics, because when you know how to work with energy, you literally can create your reality in ways that you couldn't even imagine. But it's also not so black or white, and it's always growing. The understandings of how energy works always growing and opens up more. And this is my intention for my videos, to really get you to a place where you understand for yourself how energetic works, so you can learn how to transmute and manipulate and work with energy. I'm not going to go, like I said, into the characteristics of the energy centers, but I want to say that those energy centers are placed along the spine. So we'll start with the root chakra, which is red color, and it's in the base of the spine. Second one is sacral chakra. It's in the womb space area, 2 inches below the navel, and it's orange in color. Third one, we have the solar plexus. It's right below the rib cage, and it's yellow in color. Fourth one, we have the heart chakra. It's in the center of the chest and it's green in color. Fifth one, we have the throat chakra. It's in the center of the throat and it's blue in color. Sixth one, we have the third eye energy center, and it's in between our eyebrows and it's purple indigo color. And the seventh one is the crown chakra. It's right above our head and it's either white, gold, or pink. And each one of these energy centers has an entire world, and it's infinite. It's infinite because energy is infinite. I mean, everything is infinite. Even this physical, because I'm energy too. We are energy too, our physical body. And if I'm taking a microscope and I'm going into my hand with a microscope and continue to go and go and go and go, it's infinite. I'm never gonna hit a wall. It's infinite, but I also like, I'm not going to be able to at some point see through the other side in this case, because this is a more like a dense energy, like it's physical, it's dense. And if you go with your hands and you go like this and you can feel the warmth in your hands, that's also energy. And so there's like different densities in energies and different personalities, like different characteristics. So for example, masculine energy and feminine energy, those two have different representation, different type of energy to them, right? So traditionally, the energy centers categorize to lower 3 energy centers, upper 3 energy centers, and the heart represent as the bridge. So the lower 3 energy centers are the ones that are associated with this physical realm, with this physical reality. So like it's very embodied, it's like physical, it's like movement. It's very much related to this physical reality that we live in, like this human experience, right? So it's like very physical. And the upper 3 energy centers are associated with the spiritual realm. So it's not something that you can physically touch. It's more like sound, for example. You can't touch sound. It's more like etheric. It's more like in the like thought. It's not something you can physically grab. It's not something you can physically feel. So that's considered the 3 ones that are associated with the spiritual realm. And the heart chakra is acts as the bridge. This is where everything integrates. The physical realm and the spiritual realm integrates in the heart. Now, again, only on this, what I just said now, I could make probably like many videos just on that. Because again, energy is multidimensional, it's infinite. It's literally infinite for the amount of, like, this is just a basic map that I like to work with in my sessions with clients and for myself in my own life, but it has so much in it. And so I want to go a little bit deeper into this. If we want to feel harmonized and balanced and whole, what we really want to focus on is we really want to focus on all of these energy centers. And the reason I'm saying it is because a lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, say like, oh, I want to open my third eye, I want to be connected to my psychic abilities, I want to be connected spiritually. And a lot of times it creates like where people just focusing on the upper chakras. And that is not, I would use the word dangerous. This is dangerous because imagine tree without roots. Imagine like where a tree, like the roots are very weak. The roots, like the tree is going to collapse. The tree is not going to be able to hold itself. Like, and it's like the same thing here. The foundation is super important. This is why I always work with clients. We always start in the root. And we always start in the lower chakras because this is the foundation of your building. Like you really want to make sure you have a solid foundation so, you feel more grounded, and then those energy centers, the upper energy centers, can be more balanced as well. Imagine a building where the foundation of the building is super weak and it's like wobbly. The rest of the building is going to be very weak. And the building is just going to collapse. It's not going to be able to hold itself. And the way it manifests in actual physical way, people who are only focusing on the upper chakras and they're not doing the lower chakra work, a lot of times they are having unethical behaviors. For example, there's some of these gurus, that they sexually harass like people, or people have no boundaries, or they don't know how to set boundaries. They don't feel grounded. They're kind of floating in the air. And I don't want to scare you, and it's not like to scare you or anything, but like when people have like spiritual awakening and they they just like the upper chakras are opening up, but they're not grounded, it can create even things as like mental illusion, like extreme illusions, or even schizophrenic, and just like things like that. And so, of course, it's like rare. I mean, maybe it's a little less rare than I think it is, but the main idea is like, when someone has a spiritual awakening and only their upper chakras are opening up, you have to ground. You have to come back to your lower chakras. You have to balance it, because otherwise it's like when you try to fly a kite, the rope of the kite is like is not, you're not holding it, so the kite is just floating around. And this is kind of like the same idea. And so it is really important to start from the lower chakra to create a solid foundation within, because based on the foundation, this is how the rest of your building is going to look like. And what I found on my journey, through my journey and working with clients, is the more I work on the lower chakras, the more I work on it, balance it, heal it, integrate it, the upper chakras opens up automatically. Okay? And I'll actually give you an example of this. When I first started processing my sexual trauma from when I was 4 years old, there was a whole process that I went through, and I'm not gonna go into the entire process of what exactly happened, because there was like so much more there, but the idea is something happened that triggered me. That trigger was there to show me that there's something deeper I need to look at, because the way I look at triggers, it's just a distraction from something deeper that is underneath, like a deeper wound that's coming up. So every time you get triggers, I always talk about triggers. Triggers are actually gold. They are a gift, because they show you where you're still not free, and they show you where you need to look at. So something happened, I got triggered, and what happens, it kind of brought me to this feeling of like being very young and like being very scared and not feeling safe in my body. And I was in an environment where I had two facilitators with me that were holding me and that were leading me through it. And I was able to feel the emotion and to process the emotion that was behind it. So I got triggered. That's the first thing. The second thing was the trigger response. So fight, flight, or freeze. In this situation, I went into freeze. This is my ultimate trigger response, freeze. The third step was, there was an actual wound there, a deep wound that I needed to process, that I needed to be aware of and to process it, because my body was still holding on to it, and I needed to become aware of it and help that stuck energy move, like help that energy move when we're talking in energy language. The fourth step for me was to move that energy in a form of feeling and processing a specific emotion, which in this case, it was like deep grief and deep sadness and fear too. So like really letting myself be fully present with the emotion and like really feeling it and going all the way in there. And once I processed the emotion and I processed this, the stuck energy that was basically the roots of this trauma, I was able to go into it and like move that energy. In other words, then there was laughter that came up. Like they came up after that. It was a kind of like laughter. I was just like laughing about the situation and like how we have this thing, and like I was able to laugh at my trauma basically. And the sixth step, which is that's what I want to bring, is that after I processed it, I was able to see more. It's like my third eye opened up and I saw like a very deep insights. Like there were these beings that came and showed me how many people are waking up right now. Like I could just see like earth and like a bunch of souls like waking up. It was like a blue light, and I could just see like millions of gold souls that are on the other side, that are in supporting us. Like I could just really see it and feel it and see how we're not alone. And there was more to it. But my point in this is that I was working on my root and sacral. I was working on my safety around my sexual trauma, okay? Safety in root, sexual trauma in sacral chakra. And then after I processed the emotions behind it and I moved that energy, boom, I was able to see more. I was able to feel more connected. I could see, I could feel. It was like a deep knowing. And this is just one example of how it works, because when you work on your lower energy centers, the upper ones are going to open up automatically. And the nice thing about working with the energy centers, with the chakras, is that the energy is always going to lead you to the right place. So for example, I'll have clients that will stay in the root chakra for like 4 sessions, and then we're just following the energy. And then all of a sudden, 5th session, we feel like the energy is going to the solar plexus. We just kind of feel like, okay, it's going there right now. And then it goes back after a few sessions to sacral chakra. And we just kind of follow, we just like learn to follow the energy. And the thing is that is so powerful about it, when we know how to follow the energy, when we can follow the energy and we know how to work with the energy in terms of setting an intention or in different ways, it's always there to guide us. We don't have to, feel overwhelmed or like, oh, I don't know what to do or where should I go next. It's like the energy is going to guide you to the next steps. This is like what I've seen on my own journey and also working with clients. Next thing I'm going to go into is the key insights of chakra alignment, is the general ideas of what you need to keep in mind when you work with the chakras, because it is really important. But first of all, before that, I want to let you know that if you're someone who are feeling called to dive deeper into your chakras, into your energy centers, whether if there are physical matters, emotional, mental, or energetic things that are coming up in your life, whether if it's a trauma or a pattern or a blockage that you're feeling, I want to invite you to go into the link in the description below and schedule a free call with me. It's going to be a free 30-minute discovery call where we talk about where you're at, what is it that you want to achieve, and we see if we're a good energetic match to each other. Most of my clients are online, so wherever you are in the world, energy works beyond time and space, and it works pretty amazingly. So I just want to invite you to look into it. If you feel the nudge, if you feel the pull, if you feel like this, like something in you that is pulling you to that. So going back to the key insights of when you work with the chakras. Number one is really important to know is that they all work together. They're not separated. From the root, it's like a snake that goes like this all the way to the top. You probably, if you saw like images of the chakras and with like the snake, the life force, you probably seen it somewhere. And this basically connects them all, and you can see that they're not separated. So like if like, let's say your heart feels a little bit closed, like maybe you feel like you're judging other people, maybe you're judging yourself, maybe you have lack of self-acceptance. And when we work with it, we can find that it's connected to lack of safety. Like there is like a part of you that wants to keep you safe is doing it. So this is just one example, like because safety is usually manifested in the root chakra, and lack of acceptance or lack of self-worth is, the heart chakra. And so this is how they can like kind of like work together. Another example. Let's say you having a hard time to speak your boundaries, okay? Speak your boundaries. Expressing your truth is coming out from your throat chakra, but boundaries and kind of like my identity, who I am in the world, starts in the solar plexus. And then you could go even look a little bit deeper into it. Again, the one thing that's important to always remember that it's endless layers. It's infinite layers, which I'll touch a little bit more in a second. But this is just another way of how it works. For example, another example. Let's say you have like a pretty solid creativity. So that would be sacral chakra, the second energy center. But then you notice that it's hard for you to get it out into the world. And that would be throat chakra. So you see how those two can work together. And those are just examples. It can go like super, like a lot of overlaps, and it can go deeper and deeper and deeper. But this is the main idea, that they're all working together. They're not separated. The second piece is that it's non-linear journey. We live in a world, in a 3D reality, that we see the world as a linear time, but this is not how it is. It's just the rules of the games in this 3D reality on planet Earth. When we're not in a physical body, when we're in our natural form, this is not, time is not linear. Same thing with energy, because energy is in a, it's not something physical that you can touch. I mean, again, there's the physical aspect of it, the physical manifestation, but if we're talking about the energy centers, it's basically, in other words, it's in a different realm. It's in a different dimension. And the other thing it means is that it's not black or white. It's not either open or blocked. Because it's energy centers and it's multidimensional, it's infinite layers, it can be all of it at the same time. It can be open, balanced. It can be too open. It can be blocked, and it can be weak, all at the same time in different aspects. And it's going to be very different for every single person. We're all humans on planet Earth. We may have like very similar experiences. We may feel like there's like those common wounds of humanity that we're all sharing, that we've been carrying around. But it's gonna manifest like in a little like different ways. It's like, it's the way it looks visually. If I'm seeing it in my third eye, it's gonna be a little bit like different flavors. But again, we can have like similar manifestations. So for example, when we talk about like too open energy center, I'm gonna bring the example of the sacral chakra, because this is one that we're seeing a lot. Actually, I could bring it on every single one, but the sacral chakra is the chakra that's associated with relationships, intimacy, connection, emotions, creativity, or sexuality or sensuality, right? So if someone has an aspect of an energy center, like the sacral chakra specifically, that is too open, I just want to explain the idea behind too open energy centers so you can kind of visualize and see how it may look. But in this case, every single time you have an aspect of too open energy center, it's going to damage or hurt the next two that are closest to it. So in this case, it's going to damage the root and the sacral. So for example, the way it can manifest in physical reality is if someone is codependent in relationship, or if someone has their identity in their sexuality. And the way it kind of hurts the two of them, if someone is codependent, a lot of times what we see is that they find their security and their safety in someone else. So the way it comes into the energy centers in this map is we're looking at the root. The root is the one that is associated with safety and security. And it's something that is supposed to be, if we have balanced energy centers, how, like when it's balanced, we're supposed to be feeling the way it kind of manifests is we are feeling the safety and security within ourselves, not in someone else. And so we can see how the sacral takes over the root, and it kind of like, the image is like it kind of takes over it, and like we find the safety and security in someone else. And so that's like in terms of the root. In terms of this, the solar plexus, this is our identity, our personal power, our sense of self, who we are in the world, our self-worth. And a lot of times if we're codependent, we find our self-worth in someone else. We can also have our identity in someone else. It's like, I don't even have, like, it's like if someone is suffering from codependency, a lot of times like they're struggling to find their own identity. It's like almost like they're enmeshed with like another person. Or if it's more like sexuality, a lot of times people can find their identity in their sexuality. And what it means is that in terms of energy, and this is how I like to work with this map, is that the sacral is too open and it takes away from those two. And what we need to do in this situation is to bring the sacral into natural, balanced size, and then to strengthen those two. And those two can be very different for every person based on what's happening. But that's the idea, is that once we are working with the energy like that, once we're working with the energy centers like that, we're bringing the sacral into normal size, and then we're strengthening those two. All of a sudden, you may notice that, oh wow, I feel like I know a little bit more of who I am. I feel like I have more confidence. I feel like I feel more safe just by myself. Maybe I was in a relationship that was not good for me, that was not healthy for me, and I have a little more courage to leave because I don't feel that safety in the other person. I can feel that safety within me, right? So this is how, when we work with the energy and we're working on transmuting and moving the energy in that way, that's how it can manifest in the physical reality. That's how it can, the outcome on the physical manifestation is all of a sudden, like, it's changing. So the next piece is, in order to achieve deep alignment within your energy centers, you have to do the inner work. And that's something that's like so important, because I hear a lot of people that say, oh yeah, I work on my chakras. And I'm like, oh yeah, what do you do? How do you work on your chakras? They're like, yeah, I meditate, I go to sound healing, I go to get a Reiki from a Reiki practitioner. And while, don't get me wrong, while all these practices are amazing and they can be really powerful, if you are pairing it with your own work, you are the one who needs to be fully engaged in your own work, to be fully aware of what's happening in your energy center. Number one, you have to be aware, more than 75% of the process, you have to be aware of what is actually happening in your energy centers, because then if you have the awareness, you have something to work with. And then it takes shadow work. It takes a lot of deep inner work to go inward and really be engaged with it. If you're in a situation where you're like, oh, I just go to a Reiki practitioner to align my chakras, a lot of times you can notice, and again, it could be an amazing practice if you add it to your own practices, right? If you add it to your own inner work. When you go and someone there's a Reiki practitioner that works on your energy center, and like they'll open it and they'll balance it, and you may feel a little bit good and you feel like, you feel lighter, you come out of the session, you feel lighter, and then two days later, someone triggered you, and then bam, all of your energy centers totally out of whack again because of someone triggered you. And this is why that it's not sustainable when you outsourcing your power like that. If you're basically going to someone to fix you, which I have a big issue with this word, there's nothing to fix, but if you're basically treating yourself as a problem to fix, and you go to someone to fix you and to make you feel better, then it's not sustainable. It's not something that is going to last. You'll notice that every time you get triggered, it's bam, everything is out of whack again. And if you want to create a deep, sustainable work, you are the one who has to be engaged with the work. And this is exactly what I do with my clients, because I don't fix anyone. Our entire process is to go into their own body when they can feel it, see it, being aware of it, and know it for themselves. And then they have a relationship with it. They create intimacy with it. They totally 100% engage in the process of the transmutation of the energy. It's not me transmuting anyone's energy. I'm not here to fix anyone. I'm not here to heal anyone. I know that every single one of us on planet Earth has the ability and the power to heal ourselves, and that would be the most powerful tool and the most sustainable practice that you can do. And so for me, like, just to work on someone and just to fix their energy centers, it's just not something I'm interested in, because it's kind of like pointless, I would say. Like, yeah, you could feel good for 2 days and then So again, I think those practices can be really powerful, but if you're working with like different like energy centers that you work with, and you're fully engaged within your own process, and you know what you need to work on, and you have an intention of what exactly you need to work on, then that's what creates the difference. And there's a lot more that goes into that. I'm going to create a whole YouTube video on how to start balancing and healing your energy centers for yourself. And I'm not talking about going to sound healing and energy healer and just to kind of like outsource or just meditate. I think, again, all of these practices are great tools to add. Don't get me wrong, great tools to add, but your own work has to be engaged in it. So I'll make a whole YouTube video about what are the exact steps that you need to make in order for you to fully be engaged in your own healing, and fully have like the empowerment and your own like agency in your like being engaged in it. Like, you can't outsourcing it, like, if you want it to be sustainable, unless you just want a quick fix that honestly is not going to be sustainable. You have to be fully engaged. You have to go into your own depth, and that's where it's at. There's no other way around it. In the next YouTube video that I'm going to create, I'm going to be talking about that. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments your thoughts, comments, anything that came up for you, anything that you are experiencing that you would like to share. I would love to hear, and please like this video if you haven't already. It would really help the algorithm. And yeah, I really appreciate your time watching it, and I hope you have an amazing day.